Welcome to the Parafair Podcast Show. Without further ado, here's your host Maria and George.
Welcome to the Parafair today. And today's story, quite interesting. And the title of the story, as I give this title of the story, is Quit Before You Hurt Yourself. So as we get to our story in a few minutes, we'll talk about our story, but a great story. I think we all have faced this situation in our lives, and we've all experienced certain things that we're going through. And sometimes we get forced to do things that maybe we deserve, or maybe, I don't know. We'll see in a few minutes. So just sit back, listen to our story. We'll get back in a few minutes. We'll talk about some things that stood out to us, some things that are still confusing, and some things that we agree with. So see you in a few.
A story about finding the courage to quit a job. John hated his job. It made him miserable just to think about going into work. But he did, day after day, because his job was easy and gave him a steady paycheck and it was comfortable to him. The thought of going out and finding a new job scared the heck out of him because he had been doing the same thing for over 10 years, even though he had been miserable for all of those 10 years. His misery towards his job was starting to affect the rest of his life. Mostly his relationship with his wife and his health. He would come home and take his frustration out on his wife, which led to fights and loss of quality time needed to keep their relationship strong. As they grew apart, and he felt unloved and unsupported, and his health started to suffer. He was always sick with a cold and felt like all of his energy had been sucked out of him. He started to take more and more sick days because he simply couldn't muster up the energy to work. One day, he went to work and his boss called him into her office. She said, "John, we are going to have to let you go. Your co-workers have caught you sleeping on the job, and your quality of work is just not up to par." John left the office dumbfounded. He went home and slept the next 2 days straight so he didn't have to deal with the fact that he had lost his job. Then, one day, he woke up to his wife sitting beside him. She said, "John, losing your job was the best thing that could have happened to you. You hated that job. You would have never left on your own. The universe has given you a gift to find something better and be happier in life. Take it." John thought about her words for the rest of the day, and he found that he started to get excited about life again. He realized that she was right. He now had a blank canvas in front of him to work with and could do anything he wanted. John had always been passionate about music and he eventually created his own business where he gives guitar lessons. He has plans of expanding his business, but for now, he's working at a retail job that he enjoys as he works on his business plan. He's never been happier and he has one piece of advice for anyone trying to find the courage to quit their job: do it.
Welcome back from our story. Hopefully you enjoyed our story. Hopefully you made a connection with it and you understand maybe yourself, the person's situation a lot. The thing that stood out to me was the person was going to that job for 10 years. Going for 10 years. Really not a long time, but to go through something for a longer period. I've known people who went to a job for 20, 30 years and really didn't enjoy one day at the job at all. And they just went because the pay was decent. It was comfortable. They didn't want to interview for another job. They knew everybody at the job. They knew their job. They didn't really have to stretch themselves too much. They really didn't have to do too much, but just show up, do the bare minimum, and the family was taken care of. Because a lot of times we really want to quit and do other stuff, but we have financial obligations. And I can imagine this person who had these financial obligations. He's sitting there like, well, I really want to quit this job, but I can't right now because I have to take care of this, take care of that. So I'll just make sure, I'll just endure it. I'll look for another job, but I won't. And I always heard my parents, they always told us that you don't quit a job until you find another job. But sometimes you're forced out of a job. Sometimes you have no other, when you're forced out of a job, you do get a clean slate. I like what his wife said to him. She's like, you know what? You slept for the last couple of days. Now you have a chance to pursue something that you really are passionate about. Not too many people get a chance to pursue something that they're passionate about. And I think a lot of times we think we have to understand what the word passion means. We have to understand that passion is something that no matter how tired you are, you're willing to keep doing it over and over again. And passion, when you have a job that you're passionate about, things are really easy for you. It's not a struggle every day. It's not hard to get to work there every day. It's not hard to put in the extra hours. And then the bad thing about it, when you're passionate about something, you look up at the clock, and this is how you know that you're passionate about something. You look at the clock and you say, wow, where did all the time go? I have so much more to get done today. Because sometimes you look up, it's 8 o'clock, and when you're passionate about your work, it's already 4 o'clock. And you're like, wow, I got to go home. I don't want to go home. I got this and this I got to take care of. Because you're just focused on what you need to do and you're passionate about what you're doing. But on the other hand, if you're not passionate and you look up, it's 8 o'clock, and then you look up again, it's 10:30, and then it's 11:30, and it's just dragging by, and you're just dragging through the day, and you can't wait to get out of there, maybe that's a sign that maybe you need to do something else. But I understand we all have obligations, financial obligations. But in the meanwhile that you're sitting there and you're dreading being there, you got to start making some plans to say, okay, you know what? This is not the end. I'm not going to sit here for 20 years. I'm not going to sit here for 20 years and do this job. I got to have a plan, an escape plan to get out of here, to do some things that I really enjoy, that I want to do. Because you can't sit there and waste 20 years and say, I wish I could have, should have. And I remember when I was getting out of high school, I got this job on the 3rd shift at this company. And all I had to do was feed this machine paper for 8 hours a day. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with that at all. And I had to feed these 3 little slots, 8 papers. And what we were doing is we were making magazines. And I said, well, how hard could that be? It was extremely hard. It was extremely hard to keep up. Because every time I look up, you had to fold it a certain way. You had to fluff it a certain way. And I just, be honest with you, it was late. I said, well, the machine does all the work. I don't have to do anything. But I had to constantly keep feeding the machine. I kept getting the machine jammed up over and over again. The person got mad at me. And so, because he's been working on that machine for 20 to 30 years, and he's never been around someone who's jammed up his machine as much as me, blah, blah, blah. But I remember having a conversation with one of the people that worked there. And it was an older gentleman. And I still remember this conversation. He told me, he says, you don't want to be here 20 years from now. And I said, well, the money's good. The hours are good. He said, you don't want to be here 20 years from now. You want to do something different. He said, that's the best thing that happened to you, is that machine kept jamming up for you and you're out of here. You're leaving this job. He says, I wish somebody would have told me that 20, 30 years. I've been here 20, 30 years. And this is all I have to show for myself. He said, I hate coming into this place every day because I know there's so much more out there, but I have kids, I have a mortgage, I have this and I have that. And I'm scared to try something different because I have to keep a roof over my family's head. He said, you're 18, 19 years old. So you don't have anyone dependent on you to feed them every day. I do. So as I listened to what that person said, and I just said, okay, there's your opportunity. Let's get out of here and do something different. A lot of us are going to have that opportunity. There's going to be someone who's going to talk to you, and someone's going to come across your path to guide you, and hopefully that you do a lot better. But your opportunities are very, very, they're going to be very limited. And when you have these opportunities, you have to take advantage of them. And everyone's going to get these opportunities to do better. You're going to have opportunities. And now the thing is, some people don't recognize these opportunities. Some people don't recognize opportunities because they're too busy worried about what's in front of them, like talking about the problem, what's in front of them. They're not looking forward. They're not looking forward to the opportunities that are there for them. Every day that you get up, they're going to put something out there They're going to put something out there so that you can recognize, okay, I can do a lot more with myself. Someone sent me something the other day, yesterday. My son and I and my wife, we like building things. Lately, we've been building Legos. And so someone sent us something. I don't know if it was more of a personal challenge or what it was, but someone sent us activity for this weekend. And I got excited about it. And I said, wow, how am I going to do this? And then I told my son about it. And he's like, well, how are we going to do this, Dad? And I said, well, I have the plans. If we can build Legos, we can do this too. And I keep telling him, and I keep telling my wife, and she's excited about it. And she's wondering how we're going to get all this stuff done on Saturday. Because we have a lot of stuff we want to get done on Saturday. I said, we'll make it happen. We're not going to have that defeated mindset as we go in with this new challenge. Because like I said, if you're passionate about something, it's not going to be hard for you to do. The thing that we have to construct, it may seem like it's going to take us a long time, but we enjoy doing that. So it's going to be fun creating that. Now, if we didn't enjoy putting things together, enjoy hanging out with each other, it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle on that day. But if you're looking forward to doing something, you're passionate about something, it's going to be pretty easy. I'm realizing as I put these podcasts together and as I chop them up, and there's a post-production part to this, and it's a whole nother thing. There's a part of me that it doesn't bother me. I enjoy putting it together. I enjoy putting out a story to the people, and I enjoy putting certain segments in there. As I think about some things that I'm going to add to the podcast, in a few weeks, I'll start having guests, interviewing guests, people who have a pretty awesome, and they're just normal people. I want to interview normal people who are overcoming things, the day-to-day struggle, the things that they have to do to make sure that they are successful. Because everyone that's around you, they have some kind of success somewhere, but you got to kind of like get it out of them. I work around some people who are very incredible, but I don't think they realize that. Things that they deal with just to get here are incredible. And I got to tell myself about that story. What I'm still confused about that story is, why did it take him so long? And I understand that you have obligations to do. I understand you have things that you have to do. And I understand you're confused you're scared that the next job may not work out. You're scared you're comfortable there. Because I think a lot of these jobs that you get comfortable. And I realize that's the worst thing that you could do, is get comfortable at a job. You always want to have that little something in your mind that this could be your last day there, keep you motivated. You don't want to get comfortable at a job. Only thing you really want to get comfortable on is probably at home. When you're sleeping, get comfortable there. But when you're at your job, you really don't want to ever say, you know what, I'm so comfortable, I want to be in this job the rest of my life. I was talking to someone yesterday, and they've already planned out their life. They said, you know what, I'm going to just get this job and I'll be comfortable the rest of my life. But I told that person, you have so much more in you than just, don't limit yourself. And I think a lot of times we put limits on ourselves. And we had a podcast a few weeks ago about these elephants that were tied to this rope. And the guy was amazed that these big, strong animals could not pull this rope away. And he said, well, when they were babies, they didn't have enough strength. So as adults, they still think they have the same strength they had as a baby. But it's not true. So as we had that rope tied around us with that job, and we're trying to leave that job, but the rope is like not letting us go. You have the strength to leave. But sometimes we get confused because we like the people we work with. We start making all these excuses. Well, my job that I have now only takes me 10 minutes to get there. And the traffic is really good. And, the schedule is nice. And it's on the good side of town. And we have all these excuses that we build. But I realize as you go to work, there's other people going to certain jobs. And when next time you go to work, And I'm not saying freak people out or whatever. Just when you're at a stop sign or you're at the stoplight, just look to the right, look to the left, and look at the people's expressions on their face. And just look and see. You can tell the people who are excited about going to work are people who are just going there because they have to go there. They're just doing what they have to do to keep their job. They're just going to spend their time. And as we go through life, I realize the people who are passionate about their work, you start receiving a lot more because there's a lot more opportunities for people who are passionate about the work than people who aren't. I know it's not easy to just walk away from a situation as you get older because you have, like I said, financial obligations. But I do agree with a few things that the person did there is as they slept the next couple of days in the story, they regrouped. They said, what do you like to do? What would you like to do? He said, I like to give guitar lessons. So he started giving guitar lessons. And I like the fact that with this YouTube or Instagram stuff now, and you can go live and all this other stuff, there's no excuses. I see these people giving guitar lessons on YouTube all the time. They're teaching people how to play things. They're teaching people how to play songs. They're doing demos. They're doing all kind of stuff. With the internet and YouTube and Snapchat and all this other stuff that's out there, there's no excuses of being unhappy all day because there's people out there who are doing it and they're doing it big. They're not just scraping by and say, well, this and this, this and that, making excuses. And I realized that's what happens. And as I watched, last night I was watching the basketball game, and I could care less who, like I said, about sports, I could care less who wins or loses. Doesn't make or break me. But they always interview when you hear the winners, they talk about how great it was and blah, 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 and how they won and they worked together and we did this and we did that. But you interview the losing coach or the losing players, and they always talk about the things that went wrong and what they need to work on. And it was this person's fault and that person had a bad game and this person had a bad game. But the winners are always talking about the things that they did, how awesome it was to win. But the losers want to sit around and make excuses. And it's okay. Sometimes you're going to have to make excuses. You're going to have to make excuses for some of your actions. But then you have to figure out that excuse. You change that excuse into a plan of attack. As I'm learning and someone's challenging me to do stuff, I know on Saturday that's coming up when we have to launch that rocket, my son doesn't want to hear a bunch of excuses why it didn't happen. He just want to know the rocket goes in the air. I don't want to hear a bunch of excuses. Well, the weather was bad and this and this, this and that. But you got to stop with the excuses. You got to stop with the excuses. Well, I would quit this job, but it pays my rent. And if I quit this job, I can't, I have no rest to live. I understand that. But make sure that job that you have is a stepping stone. It's a stepping stone. It's not the end of you. Because what happens is we think that job that we have, that career that we have, if you're not internally happy with it, it's going to eat you up. Every day it's going to eat you up. As I watch people and I see certain things, you can tell the people, like I said, who are really excited about the next day. They're really excited about being here. They're really excited about working this job because it's not a struggle for them. It's not a struggle. If you're struggling at work right now, if you're really not struggling with keeping up with the work, but if you feel that you can't give 110%, or you feel like you only give 75% because there's so much more in you. But you got to understand that it's a test to see, okay, I'm going to give him this job. I'm going to see if he's going to give 110%. But if he doesn't give 110%, why should I give him something else? Why should I make bigger and better things for you? Because you never know who's watching you, who realizes that you are a great worker. Because once people label you as a lazy, not on time, non-dependable person, it doesn't matter what kind of job you get. But if someone sees you as someone who's a problem solver, dependable, accountable, you can always have work. You don't have to worry about work because you're going to have that passion. Whatever you pick up, you're going to be passionate about it. Be honest with you, some jobs, as I watch some people do things, I'm like, how do they do that every day? But they're passionate about it. They're passionate about it. And that's something that it's hard to find. And as you go out today and you look around, look for the people who are passionate about it. And ask them a question. Why are you so passionate about that? Why are you so passionate about that? What keeps that fire in you going like that? Because that's the thing that you need to find. And you need to sit yourself down. And as I sit myself down, I have to figure out, and I figured out some things that I really enjoy. And I'm passionate about it. And I just, hopefully it keeps going and going and going and going. Well, thanks again for joining us on the Pear Affair. And hopefully you enjoyed our story. You enjoyed our comments about the story. As we continue to get bigger and we keep growing and growing, we're always welcome to new ideas. We're always looking for things that make the show better. And as we continue to strive to get better and push you out there to get a little better, hopefully this podcast is helping you go for your goals, move you to the right direction, and hopefully it enlighten you and give you a different perspective on life. So until the next one, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Love this episode of the Pear Affair podcast? Head over to SoundCloud to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. Thank you.